Hey everybody, my name's Ed. Okay, so random comic book review. So this time we're gonna do Jon Sable Freelance from 1985. This is number 22, published by First Comics, and it's written and drawn by um, Mike Grell. Mike Grell's been around for a long time. He's mostly known as a DC artist. I know in the mid 70s when they revived the Green Lantern, Green Arrow comic. Mike Grell was the artist, and he kind of had this kind of pseudo Neil Adams influence type style at that time. So I'm sure that's why he was hired. I think he did a little bit for Legion of the Superheroes. He did a pretty long run on a comic called Warlord, which he created, and it was kind of more of a fantasy sword and sorcery type thing. And he's also really, really well known for his run on Green Arrow. First, he did Longbow Hunters, which was kind of this grim and gritty take on the character in Green Arrow. And it came out right after Dark Knight Returns, and it was the same sort of thing. It's not exactly, but in the sense of making the character a little bit more mature, a little bit more gritty, a little bit more quote unquote realistic. And after that, that turned into an ongoing series, and it was actually interesting. I haven't read all of them, but he was having the Green Arrow actually age in real time. So, ultimately, Green Arrow was getting to be like, like almost 50 years old when Grell was still writing the series. So that's a pretty interesting thing there. For Marvel, the only thing I can think of off the top of my head is that for a moment in the early 2000s, he was the writer on the series after Kurt Busiek. But okay, so Jon Sable Freelance. The whole premise of the comics is the main character basically makes his money writing really popular children's books. But he freelances as a mercenary. He's this kind of, but he actually fits this kind of archetype that you saw a lot in 80s fiction. The post Vietnam vet guy. He's got all these skills, and he's either this cop or this secret agent or the this or this that. So this very much fits into. It's very much a product of its time. And speaking of that, here's the whole, or here's the letters page. There's actually a letter where somebody's talking about how in a previous issue, Mike Grell suggested folks should write to the Vietnam embassy or the Vietnam mission or Vietnamese mission, I'm sorry, regarding the status of American MIAs and things like that. So that's interesting there. So anyway, getting to the comic, we start here, and we see Jon Sable. He's actually out on a date with a young woman. It's actually pretty interesting. They've got the horse and carriage and all that, but it's pretty interesting because it's not something you see a lot in superhero comics these days anymore. Uh, you know, adult characters going on a date. You use there's relationships and romances and things like that, but you don't always see characters just do normal things that normal people do. And it turns out that this young woman is actually the artist who draws the illustrations for his books. And this whole bit here is she's kind of thinking, is it a good idea to get involved with this guy or not? Maybe, maybe not. Here's the next day. John wakes up. His butler or dude is telling him like, yeah, you're too old for that girl, blah, blah, blah. You need to get back in shape, yakety smackety. Here they are working on the next book. Oh, here's cool. This is fun. This is an ad for Nexus by Mike Barron and Steve Rude. In the background, you can see the Badger, which is another character that that Mike Barron created. So, all right. The funny thing about Badger, the whole point about Badger is he's mentally unstable, right? And the joke of it is how it came about is Mike Barron had created a Nexus for a different company, Capital Comics. Is that right? I'm not 100% certain. I can't remember right now, but it was a different independent company, right? And so that was doing well for them, and they asked him to come up with another character, and he goes, "Okay, good. I want to do this comic book about a druid wizard." And they go, "No, don't do a druid wizard. Do a superhero." He goes, I've already done a superhero. No, we want, a crime fighter, like, somebody who's in the streets fighting crime. And Mike Barron was like, why would anybody put on a costume and a mask and go fight crime in the streets? You'd have to be crazy. And then, bam, that's the concept. So, anyway, um, moving on with the story. Okay, so there's more of John and his artist, and then here's the artist talking to the editor at the book company. The editor of the book company is actually Jon Sable's ex-wife. Mm-hmm. La di da. And this is the editorial page here. This is pretty much the same thing that Marvel Comics used to do in their comics, the bullpen bulletin board. So you get first notes. Basically, here's some stuff that's coming out this week, or yeah, this week and this month. Here's some other stuff that's going to be coming out in the next couple of months. So la di da di da. Anyway, here we are with the editor. She's reflecting on her relationship with Jon Sable. Then we get this straight up mid 80s action movie stuff. Some plane gets blown up. John is out. He's hanging out with this artist again. Obviously, the relationship is growing. They're getting a little bit closer. And then they get interrupted here by a guy in a suit. Is it Mr. Smith or is it Mr. Jones? He's obviously some dude from the government. He tells them, oh, this plane has been attacked. And, it's all about this deal we had with some terrorists that went wrong. And, oh, can you see that? Oh, he's showing this picture of this woman who works for Gaddafi. And it's Gaddafi. They don't make up another name. It's Gaddafi. Oh, wait. So there. And they offer him a job, and he kind of sort of turns it down, but not really. So anyway, he's all grim. Doesn't know if he should take the job or not. Here he is working out. This is all very, and the thing is, this whole relationship with this older guy, it's all very Magnum PI. I can't remember the name of Magnum PIs. The guy with the guy, his buddy he used to work with, Smithers or some shit like that. I don't think it was Smithers, but you know what I mean. Their relationship is very similar. Here he is. Here's Jon Sable trying to get into shape. All right. Okay. Mr. Smith, Mr. Jones shows up again. Tell him like, okay, you take this job. This is what we expect. Uh, the Israelis, want the bad guys alive, but we don't care if you kill them or not. Here he's making dinner. for what's her name? Mike Blackman. That's what her name is. Mike Blackman. Yep. Ad for some other First comics. So you got Nexus, Grimjack. There's Jon Sable, Badger, American Flag. I think this is a character from Star Slayer or something like that. I never read that comic. Oh, that's interesting. Star Slayer is another comic book that that Mike Grell created for First Comics, but I think he let other people take over it so that he could do um, so he could do this comic, so he could do Jon Sable. Or no, wait a minute. Actually, I think Star Slayer started. He did it first at Pacific Comics, and then from Pacific Comics, it moved over to First Comics. I think that's how that went. This what was this character's name? Mike something or another. Mike Malhauser or something like that. I can't remember. Mike something. This was like a detective character from E-Man. And this koala bear character here was supposed to be the First Comics like mascot or whatever. Okay, this is, hey, you gonna take the job still? I don't know. I guess I will. And then, we got one more night before you leave. And then here's Jon Sable contemplating everything. And that's pretty much it for the story. The Crucified Man. The Contract Part 2. All right, here's an ad for the Black Flame from the pages of Star Slayer. Or, yeah, so. And then back here, this back matter here says Safari Sketchbook. So I haven't read this, but it looks like it's a little diary or whatever of Mike Grell having a safari. And this is nice. And that's pretty much it. Okay, here. And here's for Nexus and Badger. The back cover looks like an ad for a role-playing game. Heroes Unlimited. But the art here is by Jim Steranko. All right, okay. So then that's it. Thank you very much for watching, and everybody have a good day.